Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to What Do You Say Anime. I am your host, Peter. On today's episode, the gang and I will be discussing the 2010 original anime, Angel Beats. Joining me today, first, from his hiatus, we have the Cat. He is back. Cat, how's it going?
It's going pretty well. My life has taken a lot of turns, and all I gotta say is this is my first actual show back from my long hiatus of being a car salesman and insurance salesman and all that. Um, and all I have to say is this was probably not the episode to come back on, but whatever.
We're happy to have you, man. Welcome back. Joining us, we have Happy as well. Happy, how's it going today?
Hi. By the way, Kat, just be grateful you dodged the bullet that was blown by K Battlefront. So count your blessings, okay?
Bless up. Joining us, his first ever episode, Discord member, NSFW enthusiast, Fire Rifle. How's it going today, Fire?
Doing pretty good. It's great to make my debut on this anime series that we're gonna be discussing about.
And if you were watching us visually, he is under the label as Pat because I was unable to get him a label in time, so I replaced one white guy with another white guy, so Fire Rifle is Pat for today. But we also have Johnny. Johnny, how's it going today?
Ignoring the blatant racism, I'm doing good. I'm glad that Fire is here because it means that hopefully there's going to be another person that will help me defend the show. But yeah, I'm doing great.
Yes, and we will absolutely ignore that blatant racism. And our moderator for today, our first, our only, and in honor of Memorial Day, we thank you for your service. We have Miles. Miles, how's it going?
It's going pretty good. In Taylor Swift's 2020 album, Evermore, she says, "How's one to know I'd meet you where the spirit meets the bone, in a faith-forgotten land?" And that's the only lyric I could find that I could sort of relate to Angel Beats in a very quick moment. I'm pretty excited. We're going to be soloing this moderator-wise today, and I think that once I finish this task, I will be able to pass on from this limbo to move on to better and greener pastures after this.
Amazing. Thank you for that.
Okay. This is weird. I don't normally start this. Let's go. So, as Pete said, we watched Angel Beats. So, as always, we're going to get everyone's first impressions. Have you seen this before? What have you heard about it before? What were your thoughts on the first couple of episodes and stuff? And we're going to start with Kat. Kat, you're back. Let's hear your stuff.
No, we're not going to Pat or
We're-
the Cat.
Wait,
Cat,
well,
I don't know what
what
happened
is
to your
going
mic
on?
button.
Let's keep this in. We have to keep this in. This is
Apparently, a
amazing.
mouse got into Cat's microphone all of a
Wait,
sudden.
what is going on?
I have no idea.
I don't know. This is amazing, though.
Why
Cat,
did he just
Kat,
turn
Kat, you sound like your voice is like on fast forward.
Yeah, we are just as confused as you are. I don't know, man. Refresh your microphone. We'll see what happens. Maybe we can go somebody
did we
else.
just-
Yeah,
Can we
okay,
just move on for
we'll
now?
see if this is salvageable. But until then, Fire.
did
What were your
Ratatouille
thoughts?
break in or something?
My thoughts on the show?
Yeah, what were your initial thoughts? Like going in, had you seen it before? What were your thoughts watching the first couple episodes? Things like that.
Yeah, I saw this before back in what was it? Probably as a high school freshman, sophomore. And at that time I was young, I didn't know anything, and I gave this show a pretty high 9. But that was years ago, and this is now. And so I was like, let me just watch the dub to see what's different. And so we'll just talk about whether or not my score's changed or not.
Okay, that's good. I think that I've seen this before. My score might have changed too. We're not. We'll have to see after this discussion. Happy. What about you?
Yeah, okay. So I actually watched the first couple episodes back in high school, and then I binged most of the series just today. And I enjoyed watching it, but I don't think it's good. I think I understand what they're going for, but they missed the mark. It's swinging and a mess, as I say. I had exactly 2 moments of emotional resonance throughout the entire show. So would I recommend it? Maybe watch Wonder Egg Priority instead.
I like
I
that.
think that, yeah, I would say that's honestly like good advice for like 97% of anime out there. You know what I mean? Just like watch Wonder Egg Priority instead. Okay, and we are going to Pete, what did you think?
We are
Sorry.
going to Pete. Okay. Um, I think okay. So what I was really hoping for was this was the Miles version of Rosario Vampire, where if you don't remember, Miles is like if this was like I was watching this by my own, I would have dropped it after episode 1. I was the same thing. I was hoping for I would keep watching it, it would grow on me, and it didn't. I have a lot of issues with this show, and I usually give it the old 3 episode try, and I would have dropped it after 3 episodes, and I kind of wish I did drop it after 3 episodes. So I would recommend it to. Man, this is gonna sound really bad, but this show like really reminds me of like the guy who watches like Super Shonen all the time, and then wants to watch something like deep and compelling, and so he watches Angel Beats. And it's like, yeah, this show is so deep, and I loved it, and everything like that, and it just didn't hit. It was really not good. I have a lot of problems with it, so I would not recommend it to anybody.
Okay, Kat, we're gonna throw it back to you. Let's see what we got. Does the mic work, and what did you think of Angel Beats initially?
Does the mic
It
work?
works.
Yeah, let's go.
You got the
Okay,
hat out.
thank
Let's do
God.
this.
All right. So my first impressions of Angel Beats, which this is actually the first time I've ever watched Angel Beats. The only exposure that I've had to it is when I was starting to get into anime, trying to get into the fandom and watching Anime America and stuff like that. They gave their opinions on Angel Beats, and I thought, oh hey, like the ending is such a great ending in anime, and yeah, but like once the first 3 episodes were just like, what the hell is going on? Like it starts off like kind of like an isekai, because I mean technically it is, but it's just like you start off with this gritty shit, and then you go into a bunch of weird like cuts and shit, and it supposed like from the first episode it makes itself to seem like an action, and at the end of the third episode you're just like, is this a comedy, is this an action, is there strategy, is there love, what the hell is going on? And like I just, if I had the choice of dropping out for my third episode, I probably would have, because but then again I watched it in like 6 hours, so uh I probably would have switched out for Jujutsu Kaisen because I'm still behind on that.
Okay. That sounds like a lot of like a pretty similar complaint that we all had for a show that we watched a little back that's not to be named. Johnny, you have a more positive view of this anime, especially compared to, let's say, Pete. So, what about you? What were your initial thoughts? Would you recommend it? All of that good sort of
Well,
jazz.
first off, I'm just gonna say all of the complaints you guys have, honestly, they're pretty valid. Like rewatching this, I definitely noticed way more flaws. But going back to like say the first time I watched it, because this is actually my second time rewatching the show, if you can believe that. I watched it around the same time as Fire too, around my sophomore or freshman year of high school, and honestly, during that time, I was watching a lot of other depressing shows. Like I watched Clannad and I watched Anohara around the same time, and this I think this show's ending hit me probably just as hard, if not harder, than those shows. Because I'm not joking here when I say this. I've rewatched the ending to this show 5 times, and I've cried every single time. Then maybe it's because of like the first impression thing, like it's one of the first things you watch, and then it hits you different, and then everyone else calls you stupid because your opinion's wrong, and you don't deserve to be on this planet. But anyways, let's just move on from that.
That's a
I
little
got
aggressive.
dark really quickly.
But yeah,
That was a bit too aggressive. But anyway, I mean, like, yeah, honestly, like looking back at it, I definitely see the flaws. Like the fight scenes are horrible. Like the animation's pretty bad, honestly, and like I honestly can't really defend a lot of the stuff about this show, but it's just in terms of and I'll talk about this later. I think the concept and the message behind what it's trying to tell us in a story, like if it had been executed better, I think it would have been such an amazing show.
Okay, that's good. So as for me, I had watched this show once before. The first time I watched it, sort of viewed it as the epitome of like untapped potential. I remember being relatively intrigued by what was like going on, and ultimately disappointed by the ending of it. And as I rewatched it this time, without any amount of intrigue involved, where I wasn't trying to like actively figure out any mysteries or anything like that, um, became much more aware of many of the show's flaws. Let's say it is from 2010, which is 1 year before anime became good. So I think a lot of its like initial um, praise and stuff might be from a lack of options
Yeah.
that were around at the time. Um, because ultimately it's not the worst thing I've ever watched in my entire life. So would I recommend this? I mean, I don't know. It's not very long. It's kind of enjoyable if you really, really don't think about it. Like, really don't try to put things together, I would say. But as far as it being like an anime and classic and stuff, I say like, yeah, like don't like no, you know what? Fuck it. I would not recommend this show. I think it's dumb. This
There we
show
go.
makes me mad.
There
The
we
show
go.
actively makes me mad.
There we go.
And I just like I wish it was better, and I just get so mad thinking about it because I think that it's like so. It's not even so close, but it's close enough where you could picture it being a good show, but it's not. And let's get into this, shall we? Um, Little summary for the show. It follows a group of people who have died, and I guess sort of them trying to find their way around the little limbo world that they're in, which is a high school. They're in like a high school setting, but with guns, so we know it's in America. So despite these people
Damn.
being from Japan, they get sent to a high school in America, and they deal with, I guess, who is the show's. I'm not gonna call her the primary antagonist, but she is for like the first 2/3 of the show, which is Angel. So it has to deal with the group of people trying to stop Angel from quote unquote obliterating people or them, which is when they sort of like dust themselves and move on from the world they're in. So I think that I would say like let's talk about how we liked the core characters and the dynamic they had with their like little ever changing battlefront group. Um, did it hit for you guys? Did you even understand why they were doing what they were doing? Because I don't know if I did. I think it's sort of like I understand what they were saying, but then when I thought about why, I got kind of confused.
I think I can kind of explain.
Okay, Johnny, let's hear it. What's happening?
Okay, so the reason that all these characters are sent to this world is because basically they lived their life, but then they weren't satisfied with how it ended. Like they ended their lives like dramatically. Like for example, one of the characters, they died right before like their musical career was about to like go off. Another character, the main character, died right before he was able to like get a job as a doctor and like live a life like that. So like these characters are coming into this world with regrets that they basically weren't able to live their life like as they wanted to. So what this world does is basically it allows them to live that life. So like for example, the musician, once she was able to basically accomplish her dreams and then become successful, she accepted her fate and then was able to move on. And I think that's one of the things that I really like about the show is the core concept. I really like the idea of doing something and then because all these characters come in, they're mad at the world. They're mad that they weren't able to do what they wanted to do, and then once they do manage to do that, they're basically free. Like they accepted their fate and they're able to move on and reincarnate.
Yeah, so I for sure got that. I guess what was confusing to me was the antagonism towards Angel, where
Okay, so I can explain that.
yeah,
So
okay,
like the main character, so like one of the main characters, Yuri, basically like in this world, if you live how they want you to, for example, like going to school, like doing work, doing tests and all that, you eventually get obliterated because like basically the only people who would do that are the ones that are satisfied with their life and they're ready to move on. So what Yuri and her group does is that they don't accept that. They aren't ready to move on yet because they're mad at the world. Basically, like what their slogan is basically they're doing this to spite God. Like they don't think that it's deserved. And then so what Angel does is she wants to tell them that like it's okay and that like you can move on. And that's what she wants to tell them is that you can be happier once you've accepted that like this is what happened. But like basically they're living in the past and Angel's trying to get them to accept their lives. That's how it is.
Yeah, but the problem is instead of using their words, they just use conflict. Where if
Well, to be fair, Angel's like probably 12 years old. So
is she though?
oh, Cat, your
And
mic
Cat's
is
back
yeah,
in
Cat,
disguise.
well,
your mic is doing the thing.
Okay,
Uh,
but like I
Cat
guess
got your
my
tongue?
issue was like how Kade like kind of changed her entire personality like from episode like 9, I'll say that. I'm not entirely sure if this is the exact episode,
Yeah.
but how she's just like, yeah, I told you all before, like I was not an angel. Yeah, I told you all this. It's like, did you really though? Like nobody understood. Obviously, like we've been shooting at you with guns. Like nobody's understanding the message you are trying to send.
All right, so again, I'm talking about the concept of the show. The way
Yeah,
that
I
it's
know.
executed, the way that it's executed is another story.
Yeah, I'm talking about how the execution of the story is the major, I think, major like whole of the entire show.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I think the concept is truly like
I don't
amazing,
think
honestly.
Kanade has the issue though. I think the issue falls on probably
Yuri?
not like Otanashi, but like Yuri mostly. Um, because when Otanashi comes in, they're already in the midst of this conflict. But the premise of the conflict is that Angel, if you hang out with Angel, right, you get quote unquote obliterated, and that means that the people who are hanging out with Angel are living these fulfilled lives. She's probably a good friend. She helps them do X, Y, and Z. You can infer that through the circumstances. Um, so Yuri views it as a threat because people are disappearing when they speak to her, and she thinks that she's malicious in some way. Probably doesn't speak to her like at all. I can only imagine. And instead of doing that, it goes into like the school's basement and sets up a giant factory to make guns so that they can try to kill her in the afterlife where no one can die.
Yeah, I have a big issue with
I mean,
that.
yeah.
So but right before we do that though, Fire, what were your thoughts on? I guess like that the whole setup. Do you think it was set up well, the conflict between the two sides, or did you think that like maybe they should have fleshed it out a little bit more? Or are we missing something? What's your thoughts there?
Like, I can see what they were attempting to do. I was like your issue you've had. All they needed to do was just talk about it. These people, they misunderstood it, especially since no one really knows how the world actually works. Because
Yeah, keep going.
I was gonna say, because even us as the viewers, there's still so much that we're left in the dark about this entire world. We're told how you can make anything out of dirt as long as you know what the schematics are, and then you just have Angel with her Angel player, and you're just like, how does she make this?
Yeah, and they kind of get into that later. 'Cause there's like a code or something that
Yeah,
they
it's like a
all.
program,
No, it's
but
a
then
program.
like
That
we
was
we,
so
we don't
bad.
even know who made it. We know that there was a programmer, but nothing said if he made it or not.
Yeah, and it sort of seems we're getting way ahead of ourselves, but like through the guy who ends up hacking everyone to turn them into shadows or NPCs or whatever, who is trying to like reset the world because like love's not allowed to exist in it or whatever, that the whole thing seems to be running in some sort of like computer simulation or program or something, but that's not really delved into either. Also, Kanade is 17, Johnny.
Which she is. Where did you
Yes.
find that?
I googled Kanade Tachibana age.
I want to talk
And then
about Kade when we get to like the characters, because like her backstory is awful, and then just like what happens in her outcome is just also awful.
Kanade's?
So
Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
Okay,
it's
yeah.
absolutely awful.
There are issues I have with
I
it, mostly
think there
being
are
the
other characters
asynchronous of it, like how it's actually like time doesn't make sense.
Oh,
And,
time
like-
is absolutely irrelevant in this situation.
No,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
time doesn't make
irrelevant,
sense. Like one of the characters is literally from feudal Japan.
Wait, someone's from feudal Japan?
So let,
Yeah,
let
but
me,
like
let
they
me step
never
in.
mention it
Ooh.
in the anime.
Let me step in. Okay, so the anime doesn't talk about it, but from the VNs and mangas, they do explore it. The ninja girl, Eri Shina, supposedly she's thought to be from feudal Japan.
That makes a lot more sense.
Don't question it, just accept
Because
it.
she is like actually like a ninja, and I was also like questioning why she was even in the show, because like I thought it was like a Chuni Bio thing, but if she's like from feudal Japan and time is irrelevant, that makes
Yes.
a little bit more sense. It's
So
still
I looked-
bad.
Yeah, I
yeah.
looked a little more into it, and this is like manga or VN stuff, but basically, like, she was originally down in the, I guess, the future guild area as like a final boss type of person with medieval weapons, and Yuri and Hinata were like the first people to confront her. But the anime obviously doesn't say any of this. This gets explored later on when manga and VN get adapted.
can
That's
I jump in?
Yeah,
real
of
quick?
course, Kat.
Okay, so I personally, after learning that, because I was trying to jump in and then apparently I sounded like a mouse. I changed it up my USB cord, by the way. So I think that explanation actually makes me hate the show more, honestly, because like this show. All right, so there's something that is said in other podcasts. One of them that I used to host. The manga and the light novels don't normally matter unless they're explained inside of the show. And the manga and the light novels aren't explained in the show. So the fact that one character is from feudal Japan, she's not expanded upon, and everything about this show is just like, hey, this is going on, just accept it. Like, no, I'm not. I refuse.
You want to know,
This
you want to know
was-
something worse? I'll let Fire say it, because I
Sure.
think he knows.
I was gonna say, just to let you know, this is an original, so the manga and VM were made after the anime,
Yeah.
so that's why. Yeah,
So someone had mentioned that this was, I think it was Happy. You had said that this was supposed to originally be 26 episodes, Happy?
I think he's...
Okay, good. So we're going to just
Oh,
go
yeah,
ahead
he
and
did say
pretend that
that.
that was Happy, and we will say, you know, like, I wonder if they expanded in the manga and the VNs and stuff things that they wanted to do, but because they couldn't get like too core, they had to condense it all. I don't know. I mean, I think it's exceedingly obvious that the show didn't have enough time to expand upon the world and stuff as much as it wanted
No, it
to.
did not. Did not at all.
And I think a lot of the time, like, do we ever learn why, like, Noda has the spear? If, like, is that any connection to his character, or is it fun? Like, is it just like a fun
I think
thing?
it's just
that
fun
happens?
because like
Yeah,
nobody else has
okay.
melee weapons but him, right?
well, no, there's some other
Also, has
dude
like
with
a sword, I think.
Yeah, but
But
you don't
Connor
really
has
care
like
about him.
Assassin's Creed like knife things, so
Yeah, yeah. Angel has like she has like the
Well,
her,
she has
like,
like she's
Yeah,
like
elite like energy sword from Halo.
yeah,
Yeah.
she's Master Chief for sure.
but she also has like she also has shadow clones just because, and they also turn evil.
Oh, yeah, that was another thing. For characters, I probably have probably two characters I didn't like whatsoever from this show. One being the hacker guy, who his whole bit is "Call me Christ,"
Oh, awful.
and the other person I didn't like was Naui, who was the student VP.
Yes.
Also
Oh my
awful.
god. Okay. Okay, so one, can anyone explain to me the "Call Me Christ" thing? Like, why is that funny in theory?
It's not.
It's not.
It's just a joke. That's
It's not a
there
joke.
for some reason.
Jokes are supposed to be funny. That was not funny.
It was meant to be a joke.
Don't you
That-
just love how they want Christ
that
and God on
dude-
the same team?
He had to be trying to, somebody was trying to make him seem like he had a god complex. And then they also had another character that actually had a god complex. So not only do you have one character that's trying to portray that he has a god complex but won't have the time to speak, you also have another character that actually has let a data have a god complex, and god complexes are really rarely done well, and neither of these are good.
Yeah, so now whatever. The vice president guy, like I thought he had like a really interesting backstory. I sort of liked the concept of someone who like taking on someone else's life when given the opportunity to, in order to fulfill their own dreams or whatever, but like how he like lost himself in that, right? And so like he remembers that and he comes to terms with it, and then his personality doesn't change at all, and he's still a huge giant dick the entire time. And so that was like another issue that I had, where sometimes people would like learn their lesson and then they would just decide to not learn anything or like not move on. Like we learned that you can just like actively decide to not move on like later, which is how they all wait for graduation to do it. But then sometimes, like, I don't know, Johnny, like, do you know how that works? Like,
Well, for like people choosing when they can move on.
so like sometimes you fulfill the requirements and then, God or whoever is just like, requirements fulfilled, you get reincarnated or whatever it is, right? But then like towards the end, that just stops happening and everyone like fulfills the requirements necessary, but they're like, we're just gonna hang here so that we can like get a diploma.
I mean, I feel maybe part of it is like they don't want to move on just yet because they don't feel like it's fulfilled because they want to move on from everyone else. But honestly, like that's the best explanation I can give.
Well,
is that
yeah,
they just kind of figure out when they can subconsciously choose to leave.
Because like Yuri like kind of like fulfilled everything after like the big fight, and she was still able to like graduate, while everybody else kind of just like skedaddled and disappeared. Like, nope, like these 5 characters get to graduate, and every other side character just goes bye bye. And I was just like, did they have like, would they also want to like graduate with everybody else? Like, it was really
No, because
weird.
they don't matter to the story.
Oh,
yeah, I
absolutely.
mean the characters that they allowed to graduate that was like the real clique. You know what I mean? Like the rest of the people were like, they're like tertiary friends, but
one of the
the
characters
core of the
named-
group was there.
I thought
One
like
of
the
the-
judo guy and like TK and some of like the other people were like, yeah, they were side characters, but they were kind of like part of the group, and like they were kind of just like ostracized like real quick. Like, actually, you're not part. Like, if you're not like this Fab Five that we have here, like you're ostracized real fast, and that's what happened.
Well, to be fair, it was their choice to leave early, but
I mean, they were just
You know.
fighting, weren't they? Like, the ninja chick and TK and the judo guy were just like, they were just fighting, and then they were just gone. While
yeah,
they were,
but like so like they said that while Yuri was recovering, they all just decided to
It was
just
like a
up and leave.
3-day time lapse.
yeah, that seems really dumb. Like, wouldn't you like you spent like this whole, because like everybody, all those characters minus Yuzuru were already there before he joined, and so like, wouldn't you like want to go off with like your friends? Like, I felt like that's like kind of like super selfish when
Well,
I
okay,
didn't
well-
really get those vibes from those characters.
Yeah, so like in that sense, probably yeah, but like in terms of the story, like let's be honest, did those characters really matter?
Yes.
I feel like some of them did because they got like screen time to how Naoi got screen time, and I felt like he was a very dumb character because he didn't really get introduced until Kade lost her like seat as president.
That
And
was
so,
another thing.
and that
I
was like
didn't like
episode like what 7
5.
or something like
It was
that, and like
episode 6, I think.
yeah, and like
It was
TK's
episode 5 when
TK, the judo
lost her
guy,
spot.
and some other people are introduced episode 1. So like, yeah, I do feel like they're more important than the vice
But they're not though.
president.
They,
Oh,
like, they don't do
okay.
anything in the
They are
show, that's the
absolutely
thing.
useless. They make no like their importance is 0. But like in terms of if I'm looking at TK in terms of like the student vice president, TK is like slightly more important because like he's been there from the get-go, like with his friends and with this group. Why Naoi only got to join the group because he got a hug from Yuzuru. Like,
But I think we were supposed to like Naoi more and attach to him more because we got his sad backstory. We didn't
Yeah,
get
but, like, he
TK's
was
sad
really
backstory.
sad.
yeah,
You know
which
what
is-
he
yeah.
felt to me? He reminded me of Rolo from Code Geass.
Oh god.
Especially how
gosh.
he's like, "Oh, all you peasants,
Okay.
except
I
for
haven't
you,
seen the show, by the
Onashi."
way.
Yeah,
So,
that's a good
my-
comparison. And Rolo's the worst character
Yeah,
in the history of anime.
Yes, he's up there as one of the worst characters ever in anime.
So like my thing is fucking so TK honestly I like they alluded to his whole backstory as a mystery. We don't know who this man is. He just speaks in English a lot of the time and then sometimes speaks Japanese and then English and then like my thing is like TK is really I was actually looking forward to TK's like backstory and never got it and I was like I've been robbed, and
He never got
I
a
don't like
backstory in
it.
the manga either, so.
Yeah,
That
but I'm
makes
not
sense.
reading the manga. I can tell you that right.
Yeah, but
fuck
just
now.
but just to acknowledge that he will never have a backstory.
I
so.
think you're like proving like the over like lapping problem with the story is the cast, and Johnny, you said this definitely in the Discord. The cast is so big for no reason.
No, like it is half the not even half. 75% of these characters serve no purpose other than just existing.
Yeah,
Like they
Yeah.
could have all had literally no lines and probably had around the same impact.
why couldn't
Yep.
they just be minions to like Yui or what? Or sorry, not Yui, Yuri.
Yui could use some minions. I'm
Yui
about
could
it.
definitely use.
No,
some
no, she did,
minions.
she did have like 3 random girls come out of nowhere to join her for baseball.
Yes, that did happen. I don't know. Let's move on from whatever we were just talking about. It sort of devolved a bit, but that's okay. To like evolve on the characters, we've mentioned things before, but these characters all except for Otanashi, I guess, because he's like kind of like Neo or something, had lived like lives that left them wanting for one reason or another. They felt unfulfilled when they passed on, and that they're brought here to like have some fulfillment before they move on to their next life or whatever. So we hear backstories for many of the characters, and I think that they're sometimes successfully, sometimes unsuccessfully supposed to be like powerful moments that are like emotional and I think are supposed to like hit you right in the feels. So how did that land for everyone? Did those affect you? Did some hit, some not?
This will be fun.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Very
Okay.
Okay, we'll go in
So-
order here. We'll start with Kat. Kat saying absolutely not. Kat, what were your thoughts
All right.
on them, and why
All
did
right.
they resonate with you?
So why didn't they resonate with me? So my thing was, okay, I'm gonna start with like I'm gonna try and go in order with some of the things that just I think the thing that probably hit the most was probably the first lead singer before Yui. She was somewhat intriguing. Not really, it didn't really make me feel anything, but like she was just like okay. But then you had what was her name? You had Yuri, And Yuri's whole thing was that she was disabled and all that.
It was
And I
Yui.
was just like,
Yui.
Yui,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yuri's
I've made-
family was executed in front of her.
yeah. I
Or-
mean, minor
Yeah,
things.
I mean, you know,
So,
like whatever.
It's tough.
it happens a
man.
lot in
Trust
anime,
me.
isn't it? Join the dozen. The thing is, like, Yui just was disabled for her whole life, and she wanted to do all these things, and basically just ran around. And then all of a sudden, uh, they literally run her around, and then she's like, "Okay, ooh." I want love. And then all of a sudden, dude comes out, okay, I found love and now I'm gone. And that didn't sit well with me. And I was like you guys have fought the whole show. You like there was the start of a like kind of like Toradora-esque relationship, but it didn't even
I'm
like
over credit. I didn't hear that.
it okay, sure. It didn't
I
even like
agree.
expand upon that, and then all of a sudden
Allegedly.
it skipped like episode 2 of Toradora and skipped all the way to episode 24. Like it was just like okay, and then boom, she's gone. Like the fuck is going like I don't know what the hell I'm supposed to think. And then you've got fucking no way to like see any of the other characters. They're all gone. There's no backstory for any of them. And I understand now that they probably didn't have enough time to do it. But if you didn't have enough time to do it, don't make so many main characters and then try at the end to make sure that all of the characters have the screen time and make that god awful long ass outro of like having everybody in the group and then having each one disappear in order just for like 3 minutes straight. I think it was like why what was the point? Like it's fucking there's no reason.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly agree. I'll expand upon those thoughts a bit when it comes to me. Let's get some positivity in our life, though. Johnny, what are your thoughts there?
Well, so first of all, I feel kind of attacked because that was actually my favorite part of the show. But Alright, so going back to what I think about the character backstories again, I'm just here thinking about like not in the way that it was executed because honestly, I have to agree with Cal on how they were executed. Like it was not executed well. But for me, when I watched the show, I didn't do much thinking. I just saw that shit happening and I cried. So that's how I'm gonna remember these scenes. Like it's just in terms of the concepts that
It's okay to
if
change
they
your
were
mind. It's okay. You
no,
don't
I'm
have to
not.
hold
I'm not
on.
changing my mind. I'm
It's
not
okay.
changing my mind
It's
about
okay.
like. Pete, let me talk.
It's okay.
I'm not gonna change my mind on this. Just so you know, like the execution is really bad, but the concepts in and of themselves, like, and this is gonna be a bit personal to me. So like, as you guys know, I'm like 12 years old, and all the characters in
True.
this show
Sixth
are like
grade's killing it.
12 years old. So like the concept of like dying right before you're able to accomplish something, like that shit scares me. Like that is probably one of and after watching the show, that's probably one of the biggest things I got from the show. Was like that to me is probably one of the scary things. I would rather die like I would rather die knowing that like I accomplished something in life than die right before I was able to do something to change it. That that shit fucked me up for quite a long time after watching the show. And that's just that's what's gonna stick with me at the show. Like I said before on the Discord server, it was probably better to think about this show than actually watch the show, because what I got from the show was a lot more than what the show had itself. Now everything's okay. I know it sounds so depressing, but like it's true. Like all these things I got from the show, like it's true, and like the ending of the show,
Johnny,
that hit me so
can I ask you a
much.
question? Is the fact, so you compare this to like other anime where they're like, let's like let's live our youth. Like, we have to like honor our senpai and like all this stuff like that. Like, we have to make the festival the best it can be. Is the fact that they're dead like completely change like that aspect of like living out your youth?
No, it's the fact that well in those other shows they're still alive, so they can still do that. And that's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about like living my youth, not like
It's
that.
like the mortality of like like physically.
No, it's
being...
about not being able to live a life where you're satisfied with it. Because like I'm still young. Like there's shit I want to do when I grow up, not just like that's not the concept I'm talking about here. It's like there's shit I want to do when I grow up, stuff I can only do
I feel you.
when I'm grown up, and I am terrified of not being able to do that. Like I am terrified of like not having good enough grades to like pass or stuff like that. And that's what stuck with me about this show is that I was
Understandable.
I was so scared of that happening to me. And like the ending, honestly, it's hard for me to put into words how much the ending affected me. It's just that after watching the show for the first time, I listened to the ED for maybe 2 hours straight. That's all I'm gonna say.
Damn. Okay.
It fucking hurt me.
Okay, well, no, that's good. I mean, it's good to hear that. I mean, the show is very highly rated, right? And you are young, you have your whole life ahead of you, and you know, at least Pete and I are jaded old men. So
Yeah.
it's good to hear the you know, that sort of you know, thing. It's good. Like I think that this is sort of what I was trying to get at when I was trying to recommend it, even though I wasn't a huge fan of it. That like the show, I think definitely can hit on those things. I think that its best moments really does hit on its themes well. I think that the connective tissue between those moments is severely lacking, but
I completely agree. Yeah.
yeah,
like,
that doesn't mean
there are some awful parts about this show. I will not deny that at all.
yeah, you know, so and it's like I don't even think that they're awful. I just think that they make no sense. But like a thing that hit me on this rewatch, before we go to Fire's thoughts on the moments, was like how tragic it was that Kanade was singled out for abuse because essentially she was such a good person, that she was friendly and amicable and like helped people get along, and like because of that, one, she wasn't able to have friends because the thing she needed to fulfill herself had not arrived yet. And she was able to have everyone else get there. So she was just stuck being alone because she was like such a good friend. And then also it got the negative attention of Yuri, who was like trying to deal with her own stuff very, very poorly and was, you know, fucking shooting her up all the time. You know, so like I think that like there are things there. I think that, you know, I don't know. So like, you know, we're trying to like have a fun little podcast here, Johnny. But like, I think that your feelings on that are like super valid. I think that it, you know, the moments, the climaxes of this that are emotional can be there and they can hit you in a certain way. I mean, I cried when JJ was sad that he wasn't going to win the gold medal. Like,
Yeah, I mean, totally fair, honestly. Like that scene hit me hard too.
you know, so like I think that, you know, and the thing that, you know, this is affecting you is a lot more relatable because I'm not close to a gold medalist anything. So you
Except
know,
being a friend.
except for being a friend,
You're a gold medal friend, Miles.
now we
thanks.
just made this podcast about shonen. But anyway,
All right, now
Yeah,
let's
through
fight.
the power of friendship, we will continue. And Fire, I would like to extend my friendship to you and ask you, what were your thoughts on the heavy moments of the show?
I thank you for your friendship. It means so much to me.
I'm glad.
This show itself, there was a lot of moments, a lot of these sad moments. I just felt they were more, what's the term, realistic. It can hit home to many people, such as Yui's part, where there are a lot of people paralyzed in the world, not being able to do what they want to do. Otanashi, having died in a grave train accident through starvation. And I'm sure that's hits a lot of people just to think having to die and just last minute being rescued just really hurts.
Ooh, that's a good question though. Is that the light like when Otanashi is like dying, is that light like him going to like this purgatory, or is that like the light actually being saved?
No,
Because
it's the actual light because everyone else.
I was
Yeah.
I was thinking that I was like, it could be like we don't know if the other characters got like legit got saved. Like we don't know that.
You see the rocks coming on.
No, I know, but that's like it could be like a metaphor or something like that. You know,
I don't think the show is that deep.
that you're right, Johnny. But like when I was watching it, I was like, maybe. Sorry,
Well,
sorry,
so-
Rifle. Go ahead.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Going back to it, they were quite sad moments, but at the same time, there was no build up or likability for some of them. One of them being Yui, because for throughout much of the episodes, I didn't really care for her, and when it came to her moment where Hinata comes up and says, "I will marry you," and they threw up the what if scene, I was like, okay, the music's hitting. This hurts, but I still don't like you, Yui.
Yes.
I kind of felt that, not gonna lie, but yeah, that's how I felt too. It's like
So I think like if there was
go on.
like as the big issue, if there was more time to develop these characters, these would be phenomenal moments, but they just don't reach that peak. But it's just interesting just to see these moments, especially with the ending, how Otanashi meets with Angel, and it turns out that his life wasn't for nothing. He did save Angel, and I was just like very sad by that because he was wanting to work so hard after he lost his sister, and he tried his best to become a doctor, all for it just to fail right before then. But then he found out that he actually did help someone else.
That is very touching. I think that's like a good thing. I do have some thoughts on that. But Pete,
what is the title of the show? Because
Angel Beats. But oh yeah, and there's a little heart thing, little EKG thing. It all makes sense now. Look at it coming together. Pete, what were your thoughts on all of this?
Okay, I just want to say the Yui episode, for how good it could have been, is not Yui's fault. It's 100% Hinata's fault. That episode could have been absolutely incredible if there was actual like build up, clues, hints, whatever at that relationship that could have been, but was just never hinted at all. So I just want to say like, it's not Yui's fault because I think Yui's like why she wants to like be in this, or why she doesn't want to leave this like world. She was physically disabled in the real world, and this world she can be that ganky, lively, do whatever she wants type of girl, and that makes perfect sense. And then we have like the polar opposite of Yuki, where like her family was like brutally murdered, like in this unrealistic hostage situation where it's like, hey, if you don't do anything, I know we're here to like get money, but now we're just going to kill your family for no apparent reason. There's no like political like backlash. It's not like her parents were like these like political figures. It's like, we're just gonna kill your family in front of you if you don't for some reason find things that we could not find while we were also ransacking your house. I hated that aspect of the show because it took one aspect of like a real situation of where if we were in this like fantasy world, I could see somebody who is physically disabled want to live their life, their youth as like this. I want to play soccer, wrestling. I want to be in a band. I want to do all of this. That makes perfect sense to like be in this type of world. I just didn't get it with like the other characters, which is why I loved Yui. And I'm sorry, I know episode 10 was such a letdown, but it's not her fault. Man, okay, I was so built up on this Yui thing that I completely forgot like what the question was.
I mean, yeah, that's fine. We were just talking. I mean, you sort of answered it. You thought that some of the moments were a little extra.
Yes, very
yeah.
extra. Like Kanade makes perfect sense of why she's saying around. She wants to say thank you for the person who gave her like whatever X amount of years to her childhood or whatever. Because like you see her, she was dying as like a kid. She needed a heart transplant. She got it from Otanashi, and then she ended up dying anyway at like a pretty young age. So she just wants to say like, hey, you gave me like X years, like 5 years or whatever. Thank you for that. And that's why she stood around. That made sense. It's like why Yuri stayed around. Like Naoi, like his dad was mean. His dad was mean. That's why he wanted to stay around, because his dad was mean and didn't acknowledge him and was mean to him, and he didn't get
I
the
think
love
that's
from his dad.
underselling it a bit.
I'm
I think that
absolutely underselling it. Absolutely
okay,
underselling it.
okay.
But like it was just like
So
it was just so bad. Where like Iwasawa, like, hey, she wanted to like live out her dream. She had like this. She was like working hard and everything like that, and she had like marital. Her parents had marital problems, and she got bopped, and that's what. And then she died because she had like blunt force trauma. And okay, she wants to live out her dream as being an artist because she didn't get to fulfill it. And I just hated like Naoi. It's just like, oh, my dad didn't like me. Oh, or Yuri, it's like, oh, my kids, my sisters and brothers got murdered in a home invasion. It's like,
Okay, so
two of these I'm like relating.
Yes.
Okay, this is just
I
me.
feel like
This
it
is just me.
should have
Two of them I'm
story.
relating to. Two of them I can see this as like a legit reason to why to be in this situation. And two of them is like, this is so dumb. The whole time, like, it's so over exaggerated. It's so there for the drama aspect of the show.
Okay,
Where like it's not hitting me. Like, I don't get it.
wait,
Go-
okay, so what did you think was over like exaggerated about Nami's backstory?
That just like his dad was just like mean to him, and
No, but
he
that
didn't
wasn't-
love
okay.
him.
Do you think that wait, so what do you think? Do you think it's absurd that his dad was mean, or
Yeah,
do you
but
think-
like people have awful parents their entire life all the time. Like,
he pretended to be an entire other human being
Yeah.
in order to try to get his dad's approval.
Yeah,
That's how
he's-
mean his dad was to
yeah,
him.
he's
His
a
dad
he's
was
a
so
punk.
mean to him.
Okay,
Yeah,
It
I
it
don't
wasn't
think-
even mean to
let me-
him.
Let me just
Johnny,
tell you
go.
this from first experience. There are people who act like that and 10 times worse.
okay, well,
Like that
you should-
guy's dad has honestly might be better than some people.
Okay,
I know.
maybe, but it's a character that I cannot relate
Trust
to.
me, I'm
I guess
Asian, I
I'll
know.
put it that way. Also, like someone like TK who just wanted to break dance. I'm just like, I don't get this character. Why is he here? Like or some of the other characters. Like it's just like it was so like hit and miss all over the place. Where like I didn't really feel for the characters that I wanted to feel for, or like I didn't feel for the characters that they made me want to feel for. I guess maybe that may be a better way to put it.
So like whose backstory like did you feel like was like the best?
I thought
How,
Yui was the best backstory by a mile.
Agree with that. I think that's fine.
I think for me it's pretty close between Otanashi and Yui.
Otanashi's was fine. Like I understand, like he had like a tragic backstory. He wasn't able to save his sister, so he wanted to like be able to like I guess in terms of save a human, save a soul, and that's why he was like kind of there, and you kind of got to see it in it.
No,
So-
well, for me, it's about the fact that he wanted to be a doctor and then died right before he
Okay,
could.
so I don't want to like try to take away from the tragedy of it, but like from the horse's mouth, he doesn't understand why he's here because he was completely fulfilled in life, and he like didn't quite get to live his dream, but he understood
it's-
that he tried his
because he
hardest,
didn't-
and
Oh, Miles, about like why you think he was here, even though his life was fulfilled. I don't think. I think it's because he didn't know that like he didn't know that he was able to save someone at the end of it. Because like in his mind, he was like, "I must be here because I'm saving all these other people, and that's why I'm here." Because that's what he says.
See, what I got from it was that he was there because he was a glitch. Because like at the end of the
Yeah.
show, they were talking about how like sometimes people get in to this world even though their life is fulfilled, and sometimes like things happen and
I
stuff
think
like that.
I can
And-
answer that. So I believe the reason for why he's here, and this is like a fan theory. So like what I'm saying is probably not what the author intended because he probably didn't think that far. But like, so we know how like it makes no sense that Kanade's been here longer than Otanashi because she was alive for a lot longer
Well,
than
time
he
doesn't
was.
matter.
Yeah, but like anyways. So like one of the reasons that Otanashi was brought into the world because of Kanade's lingering wish. And because like otherwise she would never be able to escape herself because what she wanted to do was thank the person that came here. So that's why Otanashi came into this world. So that's
Yeah.
just a little thing that might
And-
be what it is, but it's probably not.
in the OVA as well, and I know Johnny hates the OVA, but in the OVA
I
is
fucking hate it.
as well. He stays like the time period between him meeting up with Kanade again in like life number 2, Electric Boogaloo or whatever. Like he stays in the afterlife for a while and helps people move on until someone else basically comes that will take on that task. So his purpose is like helping people, basically do what he did for Yui and the rest of the team, but just for like people for a while. And then eventually he passes on and reincarnates and gets to hang out with Kanade some more. But another thing that I don't know, this is just I talked to my fiance is a nurse practitioner, and I asked if his heart would be able to be used, considering how he died. She said no, because it would have been too weak to use as a transplant because he was malnourished. And I don't know if I should take points off for that, but I'm going to.
I think
But he also did get it. He also did get injured. So, and we see that other people survived while he died.
Yes,
so
but
maybe it was from injury.
It could have been. Well, we know he wasn't drinking water, which is why he was significantly weaker than everyone else. Because he didn't. I mean, he went 7 days without drinking water, right? And everyone else didn't go 7 days without drinking water because that one guy. God, that guy's so stupid. The guy who stole the water while they were enclosed, there was nowhere to run.
Yeah,
he couldn't run anywhere. He takes the water. He like runs away. They get him, but in the process, spill the water because like I don't know why they had to. He had nowhere to run.
Miles, let me just answer that with what do you think the state of the world is right now?
I mean, I like to think that like I understand that people are selfish and like complete trash bags, right? I like to think that they're trash bags with a plan, though. Like at least something.
I don't think a lot of them have.
I like to think that if I was in a closed room with someone, they wouldn't steal from me and try to run away. Like you're in a closed room, and then he's like, "What are you gonna do? Kill me?" And they're like, "No, what are you like fucking stupid? What are you like? Who is that person?"
People are stupid. That's the explanation. People are stupid.
He didn't intentionally like pour the water out though. Like
no.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not saying that he did that. What I'm saying is that like his plan to steal all the water and run away was really dumb because he ran towards rubble.
Yeah.
Like he ran towards like a giant pile of rubble.
It's not like a harem protagonist accidentally trips and falls into somebody's boobs. Like, oh, whoops, I didn't mean to do that. But like this is like that equivalent. It's like, oh, the water somehow, like, we lost all the water. Let's add this dramatic effect for no apparent reason. And
he could have just died anyway because other people died, right?
Oh, like, absolutely.
They should have just killed him and harvested his body for water.
we must drink your blood. Oh god, if this did like
the blood of the virgin.
What's that? What's the movie where it just becomes a vampire movie? From Dusk Till Dawn. If this took like a From Dusk Till Dawn turn.
I'm the only one that's going to get that reference, and you are absolutely correct.
How awesome would that have been, Pete?
Amazing!
Amazing! So cool.
Watch From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yeah, watch From Dusk Till Dawn, everyone. Okay, yeah. So I think that like I don't know. I liked the moments for the most part. I thought that Yuri's was like a lot. Like Pete had said. I, however, disagree. About Naoi's. I thought that was like. I mean, it's like a little dramatic, but it's like dramatic enough for me to like enjoy and sort of get into and not necessarily roll my eyes at. Like I thought that was like people have hard parents, people want to be other people, siblings and stuff, and like him realizing that like he had value in and of himself is like a nice thing. I think that's a nice lesson to learn. I don't know what Yuri's lesson was supposed to be. Like, you can't protect your family when like men with guns invade your house. And it's just like
I think her lesson was that life is unfair.
That's fair. What a thing to learn in limbo.
I liked Naoi's backstory. It's just the execution was just so bad.
Oh, I mean, yeah, I liked the backstory.
About a lot of things.
I was super ready for him to like like seize the day, grab that new lease on life he just found, and then instead he was like, just kidding, I'm still a bitch. Like, I'm awful. And
the next episode, he switches over to the people. I'm just like, that was quick.
yeah, the whole thing was just I don't know. Also, Angel said like Otanashi like thinks to himself like maybe Angel is just like a real person and not an angel in like episode 4 or something. And I just assumed that he had figured it out, and that's why he was trying to befriend her like the entire time. And then once he's like, "What? You're not an angel?" That was another thing. I don't know. There were a lot of things. However, we've been talking for a while. So as per tradition, unless anyone else has any quick topics they want to bring up, let's do some best boy, best girl, and then we can wrap.
I just want to say one thing.
Yeah.
The music was phenomenal. In
Oh
the whole show.
yes, I agree.
I need to say that.
Yeah.
The music was pretty damn good. I'll say that. Yeah.
This
Like,
show
I
has
felt
my
like
favorite ED of all time.
the opening and ending were really good, but like in certain moments where it was supposed to be portrayed as tense, the piano just picked up, and I'm like, God damn, that's great.
Yeah, I think that like adding dramatic effect, it does like super good with it. Because I'd be like, yeah, and then I'd like think about it and I'd be like, that scene was fucking awful. But while the scene was playing, I'd be like, let's fucking go, like like super.
The less you think about it, the better this show feels.
Yes.
Honestly.
I can say that My Soul Your Beats, that song stuck in my head the whole fucking day, and I made up my own lyrics. I was just like, I hate this fucking song. Goddamn.
I loved your My Soul Your Beats. I think it's like super good.
Which version of it?
I don't know, all of them.
No, there's like
3,
there's like
right?
the one where Yui.
There's like the rock one. Yui is voiced by
and then
Lisa,
there's
right?
2.
When she's singing.
Yeah, it's Lisa.
Yeah.
Thoughts of her singing.
That was another thing. Everyone was complaining about how bad of a vocalist she was. That was
And
weird.
She was an amazing vocalist.
She was phenomenal.
It's clear that like a lot of the show's money went into this music. So
Yeah, I think that Lisa had to have been like half the budget, but like,
what about 2010? Was she famous back then?
she was about to be. When did Sword Art come out?
2011.
Yeah, well, she was about to be. I bet she
Anime
was
got
because,
From SAO.
because I don't know, like SAO is massive, right? Like, and they planned it to be massive, and they got her for it. So she's been active since 2005. So, anyways, I don't know. We don't really need to discuss Lisa's discography currently, but I'll look it up eventually. Yeah, I agree. I thought the music was fantastic. It was really good at mood setting. Like another show that had like really good music, but was like overly sappy and unnecessary. Violet Evergarden, very high point for the.
You just had to go there. Yeah,
I did.
You
I can't.
had
I
to
can't
go
every
stop
there.
single
myself.
episode, every single time.
You had to do it. I respect it, but you had to do it.
That's okay. I did get the silent non-Baka reference in for Cat earlier too. One day I'm gonna nominate something and everyone's gonna fucking hate it, and I'll never live it down. But until then, I'm gonna ride hide.
Yeah.
So let's do best boy, best girl. Cat, who do you got? And you know what? Because we mostly didn't like this show, throw in worst girl too and worst boy. Let's go with that as well.
So I'm gonna start with worst boy. Okay, I'm gonna start with worst boy and worst girl, and then work my way up to the best. My worst boy was probably it had to be Hinata. It had to be hands down because he was just like you can't. It just felt like he was manipulating Yui so that Yui could go home. Like that's how it
feel
felt.
that way. I agree.
Exactly.
Because it came out of nowhere.
and then Yui was having all these hallucinations about what would have happened if he was there in her life. That's not okay. But best boy is, y'all gonna hate me for this. I believe it was TK.
Makes perfect sense.
Because I couldn't get along with any of the other main characters like at all, and TK was the only source of comic relief that I had. Just like random moments when he would speak English for no fucking reason, and I'd just be like, yes, please distract me from this. Like, and then moving on to worst girl, I think my worst girl has to be worst girl is Yuri. Like it's Yuri because like
Ooh.
she seemed to have, it was like the melancholy of what's her face,
Mizuhara.
that
Haruhi.
Haruhi
yeah,
Suzumiya.
Fuck that
yeah,
girl,
like
man.
yeah, like she just felt so self-centered about it, about her character, and then at the end she had a change of heart. I understand that she has a bunch of trauma and all that, but that's everybody in the show. That's the whole show is about. But like my thing is, like, you didn't have to make her be like the leader who is also a little bit of a bitch. And then have this sappy backstory, and then be also a tsundere half the time. Like, it just felt like she had that kind of like half trope, and she would just kind of be like, eh.
Especially at the
um,
end, she definitely had that.
yeah. And then I think best girl for me is probably going to be Yui because of her whole backstory and how her character played out. Honestly, the TK best boy is kind of like a little bit of a joke. Kind of believe it, but you know. But yeah, Yui's best girl for me. And that's pretty much all I got for this.
Yeah, no worries. Good picks. I think that, like, you know what I mean? TK is just one of those characters where if you vibe with him, you vibe with him, and he didn't do anything, so he couldn't have offended you in any way. Johnny, who do you got?
All right, so for me, it's like it's hard for me to say who's the worst boy or girl, just because it's probably all the characters that do literally nothing for the show. So like, it's a bit hard for me to decide on who does the least out of the least helpful. So I'm just gonna throw out there okay, for worst boy, I guess I'll just throw out Noda, like the big guy with the axe. I thought he was really fucking annoying. There's like one funny scene with him where like he was like whirlwinding his axe outside the window, and then he drops it on the ground. He's like, "Well, what am I gonna do now?"
Was he the one who was on the rocket chair? Because I'm not gonna lie, the
Yeah.
rocket chair thing was like
That
the
was
two.
Hinata.
Okay, that was like the two guns moment for me for this anime,
Yeah,
where
like I like the rocket chair so
I
much.
thought it was so, like, when they
I thought it
thought,
was funny.
I like
like,
the
when they
glasses
The
one part as
time I
well.
laughed in this anime.
you know who we didn't even talk about? Oyama, that guy, like, who thought he was gonna get rocket chaired, and then Hinata got rocket chaired instead.
Well,
Again.
that guy, yeah, well, like that guy's personality is that he has no. Well, no, his special trait is that he has no special trait. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. Anyway, I thought I loved the rocket chair scenes. I
I
thought
did
that was so
too.
funny.
And I like
yeah, I
the
thought it was
glasses
great.
guy where he's like, I have a secret, and he just rips open his shirt, and it's just
Oh, he's
full of
ripped.
muscles, and he's like, everyone thinks I have a skinny body, but in fact, I lift weights, and the
And then the
teacher's like,
teacher is like, "Oh yeah, nice. Now sit down."
We can see that. Please sit down.
Also
no,
weird
when
that
he-
you could change your physical appearance like that, but you can't age in their world. He was always that age, but he could somehow get absolutely jacked in that world.
Look. The
Yep,
author
that's
probably
a really
didn't
good
think
point.
about it. Let's
Another
just
bit for
Also,
that, I
their
think
heart speeding is a bit weird too, to be honest.
Or
I'd
being
also like to point-
hungry
How
or
do we know?
sleeping.
Oh, yeah, no,
or,
never mind.
yeah.
I'd also like to point out the judo dude's, like, at the end of the show, his transformation from being this big dude who looks like he does judo to this skinny, like, protag looking dude. Like, I just want to point that out. Like, that's fucking weird.
Oh,
But,
what were we talking about again?
So
Worst
you
girl?
had
Hold on,
just given worst boy to the
Right.
axe guy.
Yeah.
what's sad is like they hinted at him loving Euripi with his photo of her, and yet they never did anything with it.
Yep, that happened.
Like it's so stupid. All right. And then it's like worst girl. Honestly, like I can't. I don't want to give it to one of the main girls. So I'm just gonna give it to Sheena. I don't know. She says like 2 sentences during the show.
No,
She kinda
that's
just
a good
yeah.
pick.
But yeah.
No, it is the bit with her balancing the bat was awful. So I think that's a great pick. Good picture.
Yeah. And also, so with my best girl and boy, I'm gonna be basic as fuck, and I'm just gonna say the main characters. That's Angel, and that's gonna be Angel and Otanashi. It's just, man, that fucking ending scene, man, it just does something to you. It just
No, I feel ya.
it's hard to put into words, honestly, how much that scene affected me. It's just the way it's done, and like how she leaves, even though she accomplished what she wanted to do, but he wanted to do something else, and then she leaves him behind. It
Yeah.
hurts, man. It
I feel
hurts.
ya. Okay, Rifle. How about what's your
No, you
like
don't.
best boy, best girl, and how about your worst girl and worst boy?
So looking at it, I obviously had two worst boys. But I recognize the backstory to Naui, and so I'm just gonna give it to Christ Hacker or whatever he is.
Yep.
I just did not like the bits he had where he's like, "Call me Christ," and then in one bit he starts randomly spitting pie to just show how moronic everyone is. And so yeah, he gets worst boy for me. For worst girl, yeah, I would go with Ninja Girl because don't really want to say worst girls for the other ones. For best boy, I'm gonna do it. I'm doing a TK as well.
Oh, okay.
Okay, look at that. He's gonna have the most best
I
boy
just
votes by the
I
end of
just
it.
liked his dialogue. Like I did the dub, and the dub was just so much different than what the subtitles had for Netflix anyway. For instance, like one bit in the sub, he says like, "Hurry up, you can still make it." Oh, fly into his embrace. Whereas the dub, he says, "Hurry up, you can still make it, dudes. Give my love to Jesus, man." And he just says it like that.
So
I'm just like, TK, you're great. Every moment you just see him dancing or doing whatever, I'm just like, you give me happiness.
Same.
I think I mean
And
that's a good pick.
yeah, for best girl, I'm gonna give it to Angel. Cause halfway through, they just started showing off her cute moments. Her eating spicy food, and I just I really adored it at the end with the heart sing. So I give it to Angel, and she looks good with wings as she develops them later on.
Everyone looks good with
I
wings.
think that's
Angels
fair.
are fantastic aesthetically. Um, okay, good picks. Pete, what do you got?
Let's get the worst out of the way. Worst girl is Sheena. She was literally a ninja the entire time in the show, and then at the end of the episode, she is also a ninja, and then that's how she disappears, which makes no sense because she's literally the entire character the entire time. Worst boy, man. Obviously, I'm gonna go with Hinata, and it's not necessarily his fault. I think it's more of like how they set up, like how the writers set up the episode, because episode 10 could have been absolutely amazing. It could have been incredible. They had a perfect premise for how they could have developed a relationship. And it's just like, I was just like, yeah, I'll marry you. Yeah, I'll spend the rest of eternity with you for like no setup, no reason. And I hated that because they could have done something amazing with it. So Hinata by like default gets my worst boy, even though I think he isn't the worst boy, but it was like the worst scene. I don't know, it's hard to explain, but like Hinata just fucked up episode 10. Best boy, I think Otanashi was actually like a pretty solid character. I enjoyed him. I think like his reasoning kind of made sense, which was a lot better than a lot of the other characters in the show. I enjoyed like his interactions, his logic, his reasoning, his dialogue with a lot of the characters. I enjoyed how like when he was introduced to the cast that he kind of like changed the whole dynamic. Big fan of that. And my best girl by far is Yui. I loved her like determination of why she was in this area, like in this zone. She was physically disabled in the real life. She wants to live her life being like this active, really fun go-getter because she wasn't able to experience that. And that made perfect sense to the why they are in where they are. And then she accomplished like almost everything that she wanted, or essentially everything that she wanted. She get the home run, but it's like it's whatever. I really enjoyed like Yui's backstory and everything like that. So Yui gets my best girl.
Good choices. And to round it out with myself, I'm gonna give worst boy to Noda. Um, I didn't like him. He was angry. I don't. It was like very slapsticky. I'm not a big slapstick fan. Um, like Takayama, is the Christ guy, and like I think that's like a pretty good pick for worst boy. But ultimately, all he did was say, "Call me Christ," and you know what I mean. Like it's like 2021. We should call people by what they want to be called, and
True.
yeah, you know what I
My
mean.
pronoun
Like
is Christ. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, God, what an egotistical thing for someone to say. Anyways,
Yeah, you know,
like,
we're in whatever the afterlife. It is what
yeah.
it is. Yeah.
So I think that God, I just like him. Like, stop being so angry. Um, my worst girl is Yuri, and it's like I actually kind of enjoy Yuri a bit, but use words. Think for like 20 seconds. Like, just like stop, assess, and think. And she just like didn't until like episode 10 or 11, and then she did. And it all got better from there. But we could have had like a really short anime if she had just like thought to herself for 25 seconds, like, what is happening? What is this world? Do I really need to make guns out of dirt? Like, there are just like a lot of things to think. Best boy, I'm gonna be on that hashtag Otanashi gang. Uh, he does like a pretty good job of like trying to figure things out and like thinking about the world around him. He's a like empathetic character. He is kind and tries to get things done. I like that. Um, Best girl, I'm gonna give it to Angel. A little secret about Miles that I don't always let people know. I kind of like Kudereis. I'm like, you know what I mean? Like Kudereis are like up there on my Dere tier list. I think that she has like some pretty funny moments. Um, I like that she is like super socially inept for whatever reason, but in like a super adorable way. Um, and right under stargazing is like heartbeat moments as far as romance goes. It's
Oh,
like
good to know.
stargazing, heartbeats. Those are the things. And so I'm gonna give it to her. I'm happy that they could eventually end together. So that's what I've got. So now that we have that out of the way, let's wrap this up with our final thoughts of the show and our numerical rating. Cat Zodiac, what do we got?
Ooh, the
So
throwback to the Zodiac.
So the I just want to say that it's good to be back, and it's finally good to have good internet, and it's finally good to be with y'all again. But this show was not it. Personally, I'm glad that I got to watch this show, being that it's such a being that it's talked about so much. Um, but my issue with it is that there's so little cohesiveness with like what they want to do. Like they don't know if they want to be in action. They don't know whether they want to be a coming of age story. They don't know whether they want to be anything in the show until they want to be a coming of age story in episode 10, 11, somewhere around there, when they actually start becoming a coming of age story. And even then it's kind of because they just kind of like, oh yeah, we're coming of age story, and then all of a sudden it's an action. And like, we thought that you had changed, just like some of the characters. Their character development is not there until the last moment of the show. And like there's just so many plot holes. Well, not plot holes, but there's just so many like things in the show that just annoy me and irk me about it, that I can't get along with. So I have ultimately given this show a 4 on the Mal ratings, which is classified as bad. And yeah, Zodiac out, I guess.
Okay,
Zodiac out.
Ted Cruz's dad is leaving. Johnny, what do you got? Final thoughts, rating. Ted Cruz's dad is the Zodiac killer cat. Everyone knows that. Um,
All right, that is very helpful information.
I got that reference, Miles. Don't
So that-
worry.
Okay, thanks. Hashtag boomer things.
What about this show? Honestly, all of the flaws you guys say about it, they're perfectly valid. Like looking back, I have to agree, it's not a good show. But what matters for me when I talk about my show's rating is about how much they affected my life. And honestly, this show, in terms of how much it's massive. It's just it's complete. Honestly, it's probably one of the most influential shows for me in terms of like how I live my life and like how I look at things. And because of that, like in terms of the show's actual quality, it's probably quite low. But in terms of how much it meant to me, I will be giving this an 8 out
There
of
we
10.
go. You know what, dude? Like, Die on Hills. I'm a huge fan of Dying on Hills. I died on the Rosario Vampire Hill when I gave like a Rosario Vampire an 8. So please, don't be ashamed.
I mean, I'm not gonna let you change my opinion.
Fight
so.
that Angel Beats fight. Fire Rifle. This is your first time. This is your first grade you get to give. What do we got?
Yeah, so the one thing that I appreciated from the show is some of the creativity it went to other parts. And what I mean by that is like for the opening and ending, as characters left or came, they added them to the opening and ending, changing their appearances and whatnot. Another thing is throughout the entire show, we had cameos, like in episode 3, we had 2 cameos from Studio Ghibli films, which I was impressed by. The whole show, the music, it really touched me. Not as Johnny where it impacted me emotionally, but it still did hit. This whole time, I've been trying to decide whether or not to choose between 2 scores. And listening from you guys, I think I've decided. Originally, this anime I watched back then, I gave it a 9. Now I'm gonna give it an 8.
Okay.
Okay.
Absolutely. That's good. I like that. So when we have Fire on in the future, we know that he's sort of like a I think like a cat. Cat didn't do this time, but often Cat is known for like absolutely he'll just like completely trash a show. He'll just be like, this is the worst thing I've ever watched. Complete garbage. 7 out of 10. Would probably give it another chance. Maybe even bump it up to an 8 later on. And so that was good. I appreciate that, Fire. You got to keep us on our toes. Pete, let's ruin our lives. What are we giving this?
Yeah, let's do it. So the problem with this show is like the premise and the execution were there if they just set it up. It was all there for the taking, and they decided that it's like, you know what? After all that we've been through, we did the storyboards, we wrote it out, we did the animations. Let's just like take the logic and the dialogue and the things that make sense in the story, and we'll remove it so that we can add rocket chairs. And to
Okay,
me,
but like, please don't hate on the rocket chairs.
I'm not necessarily hating on the rocket chairs, but I feel like this is an example of like things they could have implemented, but instead they added rocket chairs to the story, where they could have added more to it. It did nothing to me. It did absolutely nothing to me. I felt like the things that they could have done to make the show great, they just completely skipped over. Episode 10 could have been Clannad after story worthy. Like, it could have been that good. It made perfect sense how these two people meet. It made perfect sense how these two people want to be together. But they hinted nothing at it. There's no backstory between the two. It was just them that, like, goofing around, but at no point did I feel like any like flirtation or anything like that. And episode 10 was like a big thing for me because I'm such like a romance stan. I love that aspect of shows that it completely missed that mark for me. This honestly felt like a chore digging through this entire show. I would have dropped it episode 3. I didn't really find anything that was like good about the show until the second half of episode 9. And then episode 13, the finale, I thought was good in terms of the overall of the entire show. I'm not saying it's necessarily like a fantastic episode, but how the rest of the episodes were like presented. I thought episode 13 was really well done. So I will give episode 13 its props, but I felt like there was just so much missing from the entire show that I didn't really like feel it. Like the comedy didn't hit for me, and I wish they like transitioned from like the beginning episodes of being comedy into like being more dramatic as the show went on, kind of like how Made in Abyss does it, where it's like it's shown as like this wonderful, fantastical world. As you dive into the world, the despair adds to it. I didn't really feel that to this show, and I wish that was the route that they went, because then I would have felt more, because it's about dying. It's about, you know, like it happens. It's going to happen to everybody, the mortality of us. And then,
Well, speak for yourself.
True. I plan to live forever. So far, so good.
Yep.
And, just like a huge aspect of it is your youth. And to me, my youth isn't dictated by like school. And that was like a huge miss for me, even though I have gone through all of that and school was cool and all, but like it was more of like the relationships outside of school that was like a big thing for me. Like, you know, like being 18 and go to a party type of thing was like way more of like a thing that relates to me than being in like English class and, oh, I didn't remember the word and Mr. Johnson called on me. This is super fun. And that's kind of like how the show was presented. And that really wasn't hitting for me. So that aspect of it missed. And for that reason, I guess I didn't really connect to it. I can see why people connect to this show. It's just not for me. And I felt like they could have done more with like the dialogue and the relationships, and just the cast was just way too big. Cut the cast in half, give me like a really good like group of like a clique or something like that. A huge aspect of high school is cliques. These guys are a clique. They're like a fucking like army. Like I hated that aspect of it. So I thought the show was pretty bad. I would not recommend it. I would never rewatch it at like any point in my life. I'm giving this a, like Kat said, Mal rates a 4 as bad. I thought the show was bad. I'm giving it a 4.
Okay. So as for me, while I agree with a lot of things that have been said negatively about the show, there are like little pieces of it that I think in and of themselves, without being connected, like there are a bunch of puzzle pieces here from like a whole bunch of different puzzles. And when you finally put the puzzle pieces together, it's like a horrible like chimera thing that wasn't ever supposed to be the picture that the puzzle made. And so when I finished, I was upset because like I thought I was making like a picture of a unicorn, and it ended up being like a picture of a horrible unicorn lizard thing or something. It just made no sense, and there was like a fire truck in there. I don't know. I don't know if that analogy honestly really tracks. However, it's how I feel. And however, when you take the puzzle and you explode it, all of the individual puzzle pieces are mostly fine, and it is possible that somewhere out there in other universes, there are puzzle pieces that connect with them and make a pretty picture of a fire truck, a lizard, or a unicorn. So for me, I'm going to give the show a 6. It's fine. I think it's technically a little generous for it, but I think there is enjoyment and meaning to be found from these individual pieces, despite the fact that the interconnectivity between all of them is just essentially non-existent, to be honest. Until like very later, but by that point, you've already like your foundation is already too weak, so it's hard to build upon. So I will be giving the show a 6. And Happy, who unfortunately had to leave us in the middle of this, did let me know his score. He gave it a 5. So with the average of all these scores, that brings Angel Beats at a 5.8. Compared to the Mal rating of an 8.1, we are quite low on this show as a group.
Yeah.
And in fact, everyone, including Fire and Johnny, were lower than the consensus community rating. So I don't think this is our biggest difference because Blood Blockade Battlefront exists.
Yeah, that's by far our biggest difference.
Right?
Because how that show has a positive number is beyond me. But this is a very large difference of about 2.3 points. So that is our review of Angel Beats. We will now be determining what we will be watching next week, and then nominating shows. But while you're waiting for that to happen, if you want to type some comments, explain why we're right, wrong, please do interact with us. We love it.
We have a Discord link in the socials below.
We do. So, please come and join us, talk about anime with us. We don't always have the right opinion, but we like to talk about it like we do. So come and do that with us. As for next week, we will be watching a show. First, to dole out the legacy points that need to be given out. Coming in third place, we have Rosario to Vampire Season 2.
Woo!
Because
No way.
yeah, I love it.
No way.
It's a legacy point, baby.
Shit.
Gets a legacy point.
Beautiful.
Here we go.
In second place, we have a tie between Konosuba and The Devil is a Part-Timer. And then with a very resurgent victory, we have Hinamatsuri
Let's
coming
go!
Yes!
I finally won!
in.
I finally won a non-joke episode.
Let's go.
Let's
yo.
go!
So we will be
I'm
watching
so ready for this.
Oh,
Hinamatsuri.
you guys are going to
Um,
love it. It's so much fun.
Okay.
Oh, I can't wait.
So, now that we know what we're watching next week, let's learn what we're going to be able to vote on to watch in 4 weeks or whatever. I don't know. You guys know how it works.
Yeah.
So yeah, I in a true Memorial Day fashion am going to be re-upping something for a fallen soldier of ours. And because Haz isn't here, and I love chaos, I'm going to re-up Rosario to Vampire
You're
Season
a
2.
monster. You're a monster. You're a
Beautiful.
monster.
God, really?
Yeah, and I am. And I'm gonna start pitching it. We're gonna start.
I respect it, but you're a monster.
You're gonna start a sales
are.
campaign for
I'm a
Rosario
monster. I go to
Vampire.
Yokai Academy, and I'm just a big fan.
Ever since
You're
I
cool.
joined this podcast on every single episode, that might be the limit for me.
Too much for you? Okay, Kat. This
The
is your
first-
glorious return, by the way. What are you nominating?
So I have been thinking about this all day, and I was trying to decide whether I wanted to nominate a slice of life anime, as is my kind of like on brand type of thing, or whether I wanted to nominate maybe like an action or adventure, something that was just had a lot of despair in it, something that was near and dear to my heart, which I'm never doing again, by the way. And also, I thought about nominating something terrible just because, I thought that might be fun. But I decided to go down to non-Biore because, I wanted to be on brand.
Hell
because
yeah, Cat. That
so
show
bad.
is awesome.
Okay, we are doing non-Biore? Non-Baka Biore? Will we ever know? We might if we vote for it.
We'll never know.
I can't do this anymore.
Johnny!
First of all, I just want to ask before I say my nomination. How many legacy points does that show I keep nominating have?
I believe
by
it
now?
actually,
It's
I
been
believe
like
it has 4, so it now gets 2 full extra points.
It's bothering me that it's been second place. Like
It has
3
been
weeks
second,
now.
I mean, I think every week, so I think it's been 4 weeks that it's been second place.
Yeah, it's pissing me off. So I'm just gonna keep nominating until it wins.
I think
so.
that's a smart call. It will certainly happen eventually.
It's a good play.
Okay, Fire. Impress us with your anime taste. What are you nominating for us to watch?
Well, since I am Pat today, I gotta dish out some historical stuff. And so I thought, what better than bringing together historical figures and isekai with a good old anime called Drifters.
Hell yeah, that's what we're talking about.
Okay, let's go.
That's what
We will
I was
be-
going to nominate if Rifle didn't nominate it.
Okay, we have Drifters. And Pete, you won. You're a winner.
Yes.
Only like 17 more to catch up with
Let's
me.
go.
What would you
One
like to
step at a
nominate?
time, my friend. Yeah, so this is What Do You Say Satoshi Kon? So I'm going to nominate as Satoshi Kon.
Millennium.
I'm a recommend Millennium Actress.
Okay, well, Pete knows the way to my heart. Again, so I have been DMing Happy. He had sort of a thing come up, so he wanted to re-up Konosuba, and I have decided to allow that as the god of this particular section of the podcast.
Oh, you're the god of the angel beats that we were looking for this whole time.
Yes, it turns out that I am Christ.
The vengeful god.
Please call me Christ. So that will be all. Next week or in 2 weeks
Well,
we
you
will
have
be
to
watching.
nominate a show, don't you?
Oh my god! No, I re-upped Rosario Vampire season 2.
Oh, that's right.
'cause
My
I'm a
apologies.
psychopath.
My
No,
apologies.
it's okay, Pete. It's completely understandable. That's not a show. We can move on.
What I'll do is because I need to re-up it again. We'll give it 17 extra points.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yes.
I'm so happy that we're watching Hinamatsuri. Oh, I'm so happy.
Yeah. So that is that for us. Pete, would you like to take us away?
Yes, thank you. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for listening. If you're interested in joining our Discord, if you have a Twitter, that's where I'm most active on social media. All of that is in the description below to our link tree. You can find us on YouTube if you like visual content. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts if you just like that audio podcast. So all of that in the description below. And next week, I have a very, very interesting episode for you. It's going to be a list episode, a top anime episode, but not what you're thinking. So I'm gonna leave that as like a hint, and you'll have to tune in to next week's episode to find out what I mean. But it's gonna be absurd. It's gonna be crazy. It's gonna make no sense, and I can't wait. So tune in next week for that episode. But if you are interested in Watch Club, it's open to everybody. You just have to join our Discord. Talk to us. We're watching Hinamatsuri. Tell us your thoughts on Hinamatsuri. Or if you're watching this based off of Angel Beats, tell us our thoughts on Angel Beats in our Anime Club channel in Discord. But other than that, in 2 weeks, we will be seeing you for Hinamatsuri. So thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next time.